Welcome to Mr. T, and yes, I go by he. Let's get into it. If you've been watching the Baddies franchise from the very beginning, then you already know this series did not start off as the chaotic, over the top spectacle it is today. Back when Baddies ATL first dropped, it actually had structure, it had personality, and most importantly, it had authenticity. The early days gave us familiar faces we already knew and loved from Bad Girls Club. You had Natalie Nunn stepping back into her reality TV bag alongside recognizable names like Jayla and Nina, who brought that OG energy fans were craving. It felt nostalgic, like a reunion, but with a new twist. Then came Baddies South, and that is when things really started picking up. This is where we saw newer personalities like Chryson Rock enter the scene, and she completely shifted the energy of the show. She was raw, unpredictable, and instantly became one of the most talked about figures in the franchise. But what really made those early seasons hit different? The living situation. All the girls stayed in the same house. That meant no escaping the tension, no cooling off in separate hotels, just constant interaction. The arguments felt real because they were real. You could see friendships build, fall apart, and explode all in one episode. And somehow, even in the middle of the drama, there was still humor. There were funny moments, witty one liners, and scenes that did not feel forced. It was messy, but it was organic. As the franchise grew, so did the production. Bigger budgets, more cities, more cast members, but also more distance between the girls. And fans started noticing the shift. The chaos got louder, but some would argue less genuine. Still, you cannot deny the impact. From humble beginnings in Baddies ATL to the explosive energy of Baddies South, this franchise has carved out its own lane in reality TV. It gave us viral moments, unforgettable personalities, and a whole lot of controversy. Now, here is where things take a turn. Because once we step into Baddies East and Baddies West, everything changes. The drama gets bigger, the personalities get louder, and the question of authenticity becomes impossible to ignore. So let's get into how Baddies East and West took things to a whole new level. Now, let's pick up where we left off, because this is where Baddies really went from messy reality TV to a full on viral machine. When Baddies West and Baddies East dropped, the franchise hit a whole new level. And a big part of that was the casting. They did not just rely on familiar reality TV faces anymore, they started bringing in bigger personalities and straight up celebrities. We saw people like Tommy Lee and Stunna Girl come in and instantly shake the table. These were not just girls looking for camera time, they already had names, reputations, and real life drama attached to them. So when they stepped into the house, it was already tension from the jump. Then Baddies East took it even further. They brought in Suki and other well known personalities, plus cast members from different networks like Now That's TV. So now you have all these strong personalities from different backgrounds clashing in one place, and it was bound to explode. And explode it did. This is also the point where fans really started noticing a shift in the energy. The drama was no longer just shady comments and funny arguments. It started feeling more intense, less catty, more like straight up boxing matches. The fights were longer, more aggressive, and honestly, harder to watch at times. But at the same time, this is what pushed the show into viral territory. We got moments that had the whole internet talking. One of the biggest being Crescent Rock's sister fight, which had people debating for days about what really went down. Clips were everywhere, reactions were everywhere, and the show was trending nonstop. But here's the thing a lot of viewers started picking up on. Not everything felt as authentic as before. Or maybe it was authentic, just not in the way we were used to. Because while we were watching all this chaos on screen, it started to feel like there was a whole other layer behind the scenes. Allegiances, setups, production influence, things that were not fully adding up in real time. And this is where the rumors started getting louder. Fans began reading between the lines and speculating about what was really going on off camera. There were whispers about Natalie, the host of the show, and Scotty allegedly being involved in secret activities with the CEO, Lemmy Plummer. Nothing was ever fully confirmed, but people kept pointing out patterns, trips to Dubai, and talk of potential OnlyFans type deals that had viewers side eyeing the situation. So now fans were not just watching the fights, they were analyzing everything, trying to figure out what was real, what was exaggerated, and what might have been building up behind closed doors. And that is what made these seasons so addictive. It was not just the drama, it was the mystery behind the drama. And all of that tension, all of those unanswered questions, they did not just disappear. They carried right into the next chapters. Because when we get into Baddies Caribbean and Baddies Africa, a lot of what felt hidden starts coming to light. The behind the scenes drama, the real relationships, and the consequences of everything that happened in West and East. So if you thought things were messy before, just wait, because the tea is about to get even deeper. Shift into the next era, because this is where things start to feel completely different. When we get into Baddies Midwest and Baddies Caribbean, the formula evolves again. At this point, the show is not just pulling from one place anymore. It is bringing in personalities from multiple franchises and different corners of reality TV. This is where we got introduced to people like Diamond the Body and Ivory, two individuals with big personalities who came in ready to stand out. And they did exactly that. They were loud, confident, and made sure their presence was felt every time they stepped on screen. But what really defined these seasons was the alliances. We started seeing more organized groups forming, and one of the most talked about was the Big Three, with Big Lex, Dolly, and Summer. They moved like a unit, and in a house full of strong personalities, that kind of alliance gave them real power. At the same time, the competition energy was at an all-time high. Everybody wanted to be seen as a heavy hitter. It was no longer just about personality or funny moments. It became about proving who could fight, who could dominate, and who could hold their own in any situation. Every altercation felt like someone was trying to earn a title. But another major shift happened during this time, too. The girls were no longer just staying in one house and dealing with each other 24/7. They started going on tour, doing club appearances, and hosting events. So now, instead of all the drama building in one space, it was spread out across different cities and environments. And on top of that, production began separating the cast into two different houses, and fans definitely noticed, because that original feeling of authenticity started to fade. When everyone was under one roof, the tension felt unavoidable and real. But once they were split up, it created distance. Conflicts felt more spaced out, interactions felt natural, and some viewers started questioning if the drama was being maintained instead of happening organically. And while all of this was happening on screen, the conversation off screen started getting even louder. Those earlier rumors did not go away, they actually grew. People continued speculating about an alleged situation involving Scotty, Natalie, and the CEO, Lemmy. What made things even more messy is the fact that Lemmy was known to be in a long-term relationship with Janaisha John, who also plays a major role as the host of the reunion specials. That alone had the internet going crazy. It created a whole wave of controversy online, with fans connecting dots, revisiting old clips, and trying to piece together what might really be going on behind the scenes. But despite all the talk, all three accused continued to deny everything. Still, the cast was not exactly helping clear things up. Some of the girls started dropping hints, making comments, and low-key confirming what fans were already thinking. And then you had moments like Rolly straight up threatening to spill everything, which only added more fuel to the fire. So now the show was not just about what we were watching, it became about what we were not being told. And that blurred line between on screen drama and off screen reality is what kept people hooked, but also what started to make the whole situation feel heavier. Because as we move forward into Baddies Africa and Baddies USA, a lot of fans are starting to feel like the franchise is heading into a downward spiral. The drama is bigger, the fights are harsher, and the line between entertainment and real life consequences is getting thinner and thinner. So the question now is not just who runs the house, it is whether the show can keep its audience without losing itself completely. Because at this point, the tea is not just hot, it is starting to boil over. Now let's get into the most recent era, because this is where a lot of fans started side-eyeing the franchise, starting with Baddies Africa. This season had a lot of potential, and I will give credit where it is due. We got to see a more cultured side of the show, and it was actually really refreshing seeing baddies from the motherland join the cast. It added something new that we had not seen before. And probably one of the most beautiful seasons. The scenery, the locations, even moments like the girls giving back and donating to villages, those were genuinely good moments. But if we are being real, the season just was not that entertaining. The energy felt off, the drama did not hit the same, and overall, it just felt a little lackluster. Ratings reflected that too, and a lot of fans honestly thought this was where the franchise was going to take a break, but they did not. They went straight into Baddies USA. And in a lot of ways, that is where things really started going downhill. Just like Africa, the girls are barely in the house together anymore. That core element that made the show feel real is almost completely gone. Instead, the focus has shifted to touring, performing, and actually trying to take their careers more seriously. They are traveling from state to state, doing bookings, showing up to events, and trying to move more professionally. And I will say, that part is interesting to see. But at the same time, it does not fully feel like Baddies anymore, because mixed in with that, you still have random outbreaks of chaos. Fights breaking out on stage, people getting maced, situations that completely take away from any sense of professionalism they are trying to build. And the drama, it does not feel the same either. A lot of it is starting to come off more staged, more produced, almost like love and hip hop energy instead of the raw, unfiltered chaos the show was built on. At this point, fans are not just asking for fights, they actually want more depth. People are more interested in seeing the girls at home, their real lives, what they're doing outside of the show, especially if the series is shifting into this career focused direction. Because right now, it feels like we are getting pieces, but not the full story. And speaking of not getting the full story, we have to talk about the off screen drama. At this point, what used to be rumors has basically turned into confirmation in the eyes of fans. Scotty is pregnant and posting online like everything is normal, and people have connected the dots when it comes to the CEO. The situation has not really been addressed properly on the show, but viewers are not blind. The timeline, the behavior, everything is being watched closely. At the same time, Janisha is no longer in a relationship with him, and it seems like everyone has moved on, except Natalie, who still moves like everything is normal. Scotty even has her own show coming out, where we are supposed to see more behind the scenes. And while that sounds interesting, a lot of fans are questioning why this is not being addressed on Baddies, especially since that is where everything started and where things were originally denied. Meanwhile, Janesha is still hosting the reunions, and honestly, good for her. But things got a little awkward recently when she was asked about the situation on another platform. She kept it very cute and simply said that he has a baby on the way. That response did not sit well with Scotty, who ended up reacting online, but fans were quick to check her, calling her out and bringing up the whole situation again. And it does not even stop there. There are also rumors that the CEO has had multiple relationships with multiple cast members, including Anna Mack, who is now engaged. Whether that is true or not, the fact that these conversations keep coming up says a lot. Everything just feels messy, but not in the entertaining way. More like everything is happening behind the scenes, and viewers are left trying to piece it together without getting real answers. And on top of that, the fights are starting to feel more unnecessary than ever, less about real issues and more about shock value. And that is exactly why a lot of fans have started tuning out, because the show that once felt organic, funny, and real now feels scattered, overly produced, and disconnected from what made people fall in love with it in the first place. And the crazy part is, we have not even touched on the spin-offs. The reunions, the auditions, Baddies Gone Wild, Bad versus Wild. There is a whole extended universe around this franchise that adds even more layers to the chaos. So if you want me to break all of that down next, go ahead and comment below because trust me, there is still a lot more tea to get into.